After 2 years with my Honda SCL500, this video is the last time you will ever see me ride it because I'm getting rid of it. It's for sale. Not only that, by the time that you watch this video, there's a very good chance that it's already gone. Which begs the question, if this is a bike that I've said multiple times before is one of my favorite bikes, why is it leaving after only 2 years? I figured I owe it to you guys to do one last 2-year review of this bike. We're going to talk about all the things that I loved about it, all the things that I hated about it, and why I'm getting rid of it. Now, if you're watching this video, I'm going to go ahead and assume that you already know what an SCL500 is and you're watching this video just to get more information about it, but on the off chance that you have no idea what an SCL500 is, the simplest way I can explain it is it's essentially a big beefed up version of a Honda Rebel 500. The front part of the frame is pretty much the same on both of the bikes. Most of the styling cues like the tank, headlights, stuff like that is the same. It's not until you get towards the back end of the bike where you see the bench seat, look towards the front of the bike with the bigger wheel. That's where the differences come into play. I cover a lot more details in this video here, but that's just kind of the basics to make sure we're all on the same baseline. Now also, if you're familiar with the SCL500 at all, I'm sure you'll be able to tell right away looking at this bike that it does not look like what the SCL500 looks like in its stock form, especially when you look towards the back and see everything missing. So it's also worth noting that with this build, I wanted to go for more of a cafe racer vibe, whereas the SCL500 is meant to be more of a scrambler in its stock form. So with that said, I also just real quick wanted to go over everything that I've done to this bike before we start talking about kind of the review aspect. Once again, just so that we have a baseline as to what's done to it and why I did it. Starting at the rear, like I said, I got rid of that big hideous stock fender that had the big old lights on it, and I went on eBay and found this kit right here that comes with all the plates that you needed to kind of cover up the bottom of the seat, and it came with this bracket with the tail light, the turn signals, license plate bracket, license plate light, everything like that. And that was done strictly for aesthetic purposes. I knew when I bought this bike I wanted it to look like this, so that was one of the first things that I did. And with that big old fender gone and the back end cleaned up, of course we could not keep the big suitcase of a high mount exhaust on here, so we swapped that out in favor of the Kaufman's exhaust. Just looking at it, you can tell it fits the cafe racer vibe so much more. It's pretty obvious looking at the size of it compared to what was on there that the weight savings were crazy, and honestly it just sounds incredible. Come to think of it, I wonder if I could put the microphone down here and have it pick up the exhaust. I really hope that's picking up well. Whew, you hear that little crackle? So good. So obviously, just based on the looks and the sound, the weight savings, this was a no-brainer. The same way that it's a no-brainer that my girlfriend and I run Kaufman's exhausts on, I think, every single bike that we have that Kaufman's offers an exhaust for. I have a Kaufman's Thunder exhaust on the Rebel 1100. My girlfriend has a Kaufman's Thunder exhaust on her Rebel 500. My girlfriend used to have a Kaufman's exhaust on her Rebel 300. I have a Kaufman's Shorty exhaust on my Grom. To say that we love Kaufman's is an understatement, and Kaufman's also sponsored today's video, so a big shout out to them. Every single Kaufman's exhaust is built right here in the US in California, and each of their exhausts comes with an included silencer that's easily removed with just one C-clip, so you can tune the bike exactly how you want for sound levels. Cool. Even with all the features and benefits of a Kaufman's exhaust, like the included removable baffle, say that 5 times fast, included removable baffle, or I can't even do it twice. I can barely do it once. I think you'll be surprised to find out that they're also one of the best bang for your buck exhausts out there as well. Check out the link below to grab a Kaufman's exhaust for your SCL500, Honda Rebel 1100, Honda Rebel 500, Rebel 300, etc. And shout out to Kaufman's Exhaust for sponsoring this video and always supporting the channel. Okay, now along with cleaning up the back end, when we got rid of this high mount exhaust, there was actually a bracket that was left right here. I have no idea if you'll be able to see it. This bracket let me not forget that microphone. This bracket right here is the bracket for the stock exhaust, and it's actually welded to the frame. There's no way to take that off. Most people said I was crazy and OCD for even noticing it still being there, but I didn't want it showing. And to those people I say, you have zero taste, and I don't want to hear your opinion on anything, because there's no way anybody in their right mind leaves this just hanging out. So I made this custom bracket right here to put a Torque Motorcycle Co. handlebar bag, I think they call it, but I use it as like a utility bag. I have it mounted up firm right here, and this is perfect for throwing cameras, wallets, everything in here, so you have a little bit of storage while you're out on the road. I always keep an emergency bacon cheeseburger and an emergency Diet Coke, just because you never know when you're gonna need them. Also, to clean up the back end, I took off the passenger foot pegs on both sides, so it kind of opens up this view right here and you can see straight through. Up front, I did a shorter front fender to go with how I cleaned up the back end. I put some black vinyl up here. This is chrome from the factory, but I put black vinyl there so that it blacks everything out, along with the stock fork boots. Blacked out adjustable levers on both sides, Vans grips as always, bar end mirrors in place of the big old lollipop mirrors that were on here. Fun fact, those are now on Nina's Rebel 500 because they're taller than her stock mirrors and help her see better. Block off plates where the stock mirrors went, quad lock charging head, and I think that's it. So pretty much just a handful of like small minor mods that combined really cleaned this thing up and gave it more of a cafe racer vibe versus the scrambler look and blacked it out a little bit more. Honestly, I am super pleased with this, and I think if Honda kind of took this direction, they could have a bike that they market as like a cafe racer instead of a scrambler. Okay, but enough yapping. Let's get on this thing and get on the road so we can talk about the bike and why it's leaving. If you've watched the channel before, you know that for these reviews, normally I go very YouTuber and like attention grabbing and make sure that I have like a top 3 or top 5 list for the things that I love and the things that I hate, but I don't have like a curated list for this one. I'm kind of just going to go off the top of the dome and talk to you guys about my feelings for each thing. Oh, what's up, doggy? Holy crap. Because for one thing, I just decided the other day that I'm selling this bike and I haven't really come up with a curated list, but for another thing, I feel like for this one, it'll be easier to just kind of, I don't know, talk you guys through my feelings as we go. So first things first, let's talk about everything that I love with this bike, because I think I mentioned it at the beginning of this video, but I've said multiple times before, wow, I'm riding right into the sun, that's blinding me. I've said multiple times before that this bike is one of my favorite bikes that I've ever owned. So why is that? The first thing is that it's just so easy to ride. If you know the channel, if you know me, you know that I've owned multiple Rebel 500s in the past before. I know that there's humans there, but I can't see them. There we go. How are you? I've owned multiple Rebel 500s in the past before, and I love how easy they are to ride, and I gotta say that this is an even more enjoyable experience. This bike is the bike that I always found myself grabbing when I just needed to go downtown or just bop around because it's so easy to ride. The clutch pull is so light, it's insane. Let's see, in this straight part, can I show you? Like, look at... don't do that at home, but the clutch is so light that your hand never gets tired in traffic. It's so easy to just flick around, so nimble even with that 19-inch front wheel. Because of the different cam versus the Rebel 500, listen to that. It wants to rev out so much. Don't get me wrong, the Rebel 500 is nice because it has so much torque down low, but this feels like it has torque down low and then still wants to, like, I don't know, it's a lot more rev happy. The tone of it just sounds so good, especially with this exhaust. Really gives you like old school cafe racer vibes. It's nice and light, so when you're moving it around in a parking space or whatever, it feels like you're barely even moving anything. And did I mention how well it handles? Ooh, bump. It's just so much fun. I always hate this turn because it's blind. It's just such a fun bike. It's perfect for ripping around on back roads like this. I mean, that's really where it's at home, is just shredding back roads, going downtown to grab coffee. And even though, you know, the aftermarket isn't the biggest, I love that there are the options to do so much with it. You know, like I spent the entire first part of the video talking about, it comes as a scrambler, but I spent a few $100 and made it look like a tall cafe racer. On the flip side, you have people that put giant windscreens on them and take them touring on the highway. You have people that really lean into the scrambler look and put like off-road tires on them, skid plates, and actually go scrambling. I love how versatile it is, not only in what you can do with them, but also in who can enjoy them, you know? Like, people ask me if this is a good first bike, and the answer is yes. People ask me, I've been riding for X amount of time, and I'm used to bikes that are more powerful, am I still gonna have fun with it? And the answer is yes. People say, you know, I'm an older rider that either I've been riding for a long time and I'm looking for something lighter, or, you know, maybe I haven't ridden in a while and I'm looking to get back into it. Is this bike gonna be light enough and easy enough to maneuver for me? And the answer is yes. If you've been watching the channel for any amount of time, you know that versatility is my thing. I have, between me and my girlfriend, we have 9 bikes right now, but not everybody's like that. Some people can only have one bike. So I really like bikes that focus on versatility. So if you only have one bike, it can do it all. And this is that. in my eyes. One of the things that I really love about this bike is the seating position. I feel like it's just, once again, versatile to lots of different kinds of riders. The seat height is obviously much taller than something like the Rebel 500, but it's still fairly narrow right here, so even shorter riders should be able to handle it. But then I'm on like the lankier side, so it's nice for me because it's not like, you know, on my cruisers where there's one spot that you sit and you're just locked in and you have to stay there. It has a bench seat, so like if I get tired on a longer day, I can scoot back like this and sit on the passenger seat. I can scoot just a couple inches back or a couple inches forward, whatever. The bars are at a really nice neutral position. You know, they're not too back swept, they're not too close to me, they're not too far from me, they're not too high, they're not too low. If I was going to do more scrambling on this bike, I would probably put small risers on it to bring the bars up higher, because when I stand up, they're a little low. Oh, I want to turn here. But yeah, if I was going to do scrambling, I'd probably put some risers on there so that I'm not as hunched over when I stand up. And if I was going to do more of the cafe, if I was going to keep it and do more of the cafe racer vibes, I'd probably go with slightly lower bars so that I can kind of throw it around a little more. But I mean, like, look at this. She just banks, and these are on the stock, like, quote-unquote dual sport tires, so it's just really nice. You know, the rider triangle is like a nice mix between relaxed and sporty. Oh, I also did take the rubber out of the foot pegs for a little bit more grip. You get a little bit more vibration through the foot pegs, but you do get more grip. Ooh, it sounds so good, dude. And for me, even though at the beginning I was talking about the fact that Honda could really market like an actual cafe racer bike off of this platform, I kind of like the fact that it started as a scrambler and then I went for the cafe vibes. Because you get the cafe vibes, but you still have the longer suspension. I forget how long the suspension travel is, but I'll put it right here because it's pretty decent. So you almost get like a monster truck cafe racer, you know? I just realized, I think the last video I did on this bike, I came to this road also. And of course, you know that you have like all the reliability and what's the word I'm looking for? Not like aftermarket support, but like parts support that you could need for this bike. Ooh, this is a nice little section. You have like all the part support and reliability that you need, because this is essentially the same 500 engine that Honda has been putting in bikes since I think 2013 or 2014. That's part of how Honda helps keep like costs low and the reliability up, is that this 500 engine has been in their CB500X for the longest time, their Rebel 500 for the longest time, their CB500F for the longest time. They pretty much just changed tuning and a little bit of internals on them. So it's nice because it's not like some of those like obscure bikes, you know. For example, like I'd say one of their, I'm going to turn around here just like I did in the last video I did this in, you know, I'd say one of their probably fiercest competitors is the new Triumph 400s, and with those, they just came out, and to my knowledge that engine hasn't been in anything else. So like if you have an issue, there's probably a much lower chance that the dealership is going to have the parts that you need to fix it. Whereas this, if you're on a road trip or something and something goes wrong, the majority of this bike's parts are used on something else. So there's a pretty good chance that you'll be able to get it and get back on the road fast and for cheap. Oh, a little bit of water on this side, sketching me out. Flick it over. You hear how, like, hopefully you can tell, I mean, it doesn't have a tachometer, but hopefully you can tell just in the sound of it how much it is okay with and likes being revved out. It's so much fun. I think I falsely said in my Rebel 500 versus SCL500 video that it was pretty much the exact same engine as the Rebel 500.
Even though they have the exact same engine, like I was saying.
And that is what I thought at the time, but come to find out, it has the, I think it's the CBR500 cam in it, which is why it sounds different and is a lot more rev happy. Ooh, did you hear that pop? I always wonder if you can hear the pops and crackles on camera. Now, obviously, as much as I love this bike, there's definitely things that I do not like about it. Otherwise, I wouldn't be getting rid of it. So what are some of those things that I'm not too fond of? And this might seem hypocritical, because I was just talking about how nice it is that it winds out, and there's people that do highway trips and blah, blah, blah. But for sure, I'm kind of at the point where the power of it is a downside. Don't get me wrong, like, it does everything that I need it to do. It's just, if it did more, I would do more with it. So like ripping around on back roads like this, it's a lot of fun. Taking it through downtown, it's great because you have all the torque off the line that you need. You have enough power to do anything that you need. But in higher miles per hour, that's not how I wanted to phrase it, but you get it. At higher speeds, especially coming off my Rebel 1100, you just find that that power is really lacking. Here in Maryland, lots of the highways to get like further out are, you know, 65 mile per hour highways. Some of them are 70 mile per hour highways. And the way that Maryland drivers drive, they're doing 80 in the slow lane, 85 in the slow lane, like not an exaggeration. So that's kind of what I mean. I'm not saying like, oh, if you're cruising at 65, you don't have any power left. It has plenty. But when you're cruising in a safe fashion, which I consider being at the speed of traffic, if not more, and you're in one of those areas where people are doing 80 or 85, wow, look at the buffalo. Hey, why was the buffalo dad at the Pride Parade? To support his bison, get it? Don't cancel me. Anyway, get the thought out. This is why I make lists. The power is just definitely lacking on major highways that I need to take in order to do longer rides. It'll do it, but having that little extra power from something with a bigger engine is just so much nicer. And not only that, but obviously with the cool styling of it being a naked bike comes the fact that you have absolutely no wind protection. And like I said, some people do add windscreens that are planning on doing longer trips and such. But for me, I really wanted to keep like the vibe of how clean it looked. So without a windscreen, dude, trips are tiring on this, which is why, I mean, you can see I only have about 2,100 miles on this thing in 2 years because I only live 5 miles from downtown. These back roads that I'm in right now are only like 10 miles from my house. So I can go out for a full day of ripping back roads, going downtown to get coffee and tacos, like everything that I think this bike is really meant for, and only put 100 miles on the bike, you know? Whereas the longer trips where I would really be racking up miles, when it comes time to grab a bike to take, this is not at the forefront of my mind because I did it one time and oh my god, cruising on the highway at 80 for an hour with no cruise control, no windscreen, you're just cocking that throttle and just holding on for dear life. It's just not an enjoyable experience. Kind of forgot how much of a blessing it was how good the Rebel 1100 was set up for highway riding between the fairing and added weight, added power, all that kind of stuff. Without a windscreen, I am just getting thrashed on this. Now, is that a sacrifice that I chose to make to have the bike look cool? Yes. Can you do something to change that? Yes. Well, the wind protection, not really the speed or the power, but I'm just saying for me, that is starting to be more and more of a downside. Now, another thing that I'm thinking about right now, because I've been out for a little while, is that, you know, I say this with every stock bike, the stock seat is not super comfortable. It does break in a little bit over time, but if I was keeping the bike, I would probably look into getting a comfier seat. I did try to do that and get a seat off of eBay, and it ended up being a total turd. I have a video about that, but they also do have the tall seat. I forget what it's called. Maybe they do just call it the tall seat, but Honda offers a seat that's like an inch and a half taller than this seat. I'm sure that would make the rider triangle even more comfortable for me since I'm so lanky. I'm sure it's a little bit more comfortable with the extra padding as well, but Honda only offers it in brown, which is kind of an L in my book because I don't want a brown seat, but I do want a tall, comfy seat. Now, with all that said, the stuff that I was saying are not great for longer trips. You know, the power, the lack of windscreen, the lack of a super comfy seat. I will say that kind of working off of what I said earlier, the rider triangle is really comfortable for longer trips. You don't get pressure on your wrists, you got slack in your arms, you can scoot around on the seat when you get uncomfortable, you can stretch your legs out and whatever to get more comfy. So yeah, in that aspect it's really comfy. Other things that I'm not a huge fan of with this bike are definitely the suspension. I've done nothing to remedy that, and I'm sure that there are remedies for it, but this is still just stock suspension. The rear is preload adjustable, the front is not adjustable for anything, and you definitely get kind of like that pogo effect, the bouncy effect sometimes, especially if you're coming through a turn and you hit a big bump. It'll make you feel a little bit uneasy. If you're just on the highway and you catch some of that section of like kind of whoopy road, it definitely gets to bouncing you and jarring you, and kind of wish that, you know, it's nice that it has long suspension travel, but I wish that the long suspension travel felt good. Another thing that I'm not a huge fan of with this bike is that it's kind of hard to put any sort of luggage on it. Like, there's definitely options and workarounds and stuff. Like, I made the saddlebags out of ammo cans once I got rid of the big stock exhaust, but because that gigantic stock exhaust comes up and where it sits, it's really hard to put any sort of saddlebag or luggage on the right side of the bike without doing like decent modifications. I've seen like one company that makes saddlebags where the bracket goes over and around the stock exhaust, so that's nice. It allows you to add a saddlebag, but then that saddlebag sticks out so much further than the other one, and if you get any other exhaust, it just looks out of place. Now, this bike has only been out for like 2 years, so maybe in the future, especially with companies seeing that people are going for the Kaufman's exhaust and low mount exhaust like that, maybe they'll see, oh, maybe we should make an option to have a right saddlebag for anybody who wants to use it, because I mean, the mounting points are there, the mounts just don't exist. But you can see the mounts are right there, the same that they are over here, so you could easily put a saddlebag on the other side if there was a bracket, but there's not. So anyway, yeah, it's kind of a shame that, and again, it's not like just an SCL problem. I'm sure other scramblers have this issue because of where the exhaust is, but if I'm going to scramble, I want to scramble, and I want to scramble for a long time. I need a way to put a second saddlebag on there. And in other things that this scrambler can't really do in a scrambling aspect, this bike, because it's built off of the other Honda 500 platforms, the engine is essentially part of the frame. There's not a frame that comes underneath of the engine. So when you get to go scrambling, your oil pan and your exhaust are just right freaking there, and there's not any like frame part that's blocking it. And like I mentioned earlier, the Triumph 400 is a serious competitor for this bike, and it feels to me like that bike, for one thing, is crazy cheaper than this bike. The starting price is crazy low for a bike that on paper seems to really give this bike a run for the money, we'll say that. And that bike at least has...
I was about to say that at least the 400X has a traditional frame that comes under the engine, but as it turns out, it doesn't. It's only the 900 and 1200 from Triumph that have that. But as you can see here, the 400 still does come with some sort of a skid plate or protection underneath there. Regardless, everything seems to be much less exposed and much less vulnerable on the 400X compared to the SCL500.
It's more of a true scrambler. This feels like a Rebel cosplaying as a scrambler, because it is. So if you're looking to truly scramble, this bike probably shouldn't be at the top of the list. With that said, here's a nice little pull-off point, perfect timing. So this is what I'm talking about. So the engine is mounted right here on the frame. There's no frame that goes underneath it. And not only is there no frame that goes underneath it, but look at how low the exhaust and the oil pan are. I forget the exact measurements, but I measured this against one of our Rebel 500s, and the ground clearance difference was only like 1.5 inches, maybe an inch. And like, even if you got another exhaust that doesn't have the catalytic converter here, like, it's not that much lower than the oil pan. So then your lowest point becomes the oil pan. And again, you can put a skid plate on, but it's gonna just attach here and have like a bar that comes down to it, which is obviously gonna be less strong than an entire frame coming around it. Damn, it looks good in this light though. Stop looking, it's gonna make you wanna keep it. And speaking of ways that this is just a Rebel cosplaying as a scrambler and not just a true scrambler, it is kind of a bummer that the ABS is always on. It has ABS, you can only get it with ABS. There's not an option without ABS, and the ABS is not switchable. That's a damn shame, because if you're going off-road scrambling, you're gonna want to use that rear brake however you see fit. So, you know, I really wish, like, again, I still haven't ridden one of the Triumph 400s, but they're at a lower price point, more of a true scrambler, and as far as I know, they have switchable rear ABS, whereas this, it's like, you get ABS, and that's your only option. I've even tried taking the ABS fuses out so that I could do little skiddy boys, guys, but any of the times that I've taken fuses out to make the ABS turn off, and I don't know if you can hear my voice kind of rattling when I hit these bumps, but that's the suspension that I was talking about. Any of the fuses that I've taken out that have successfully turned off the ABS make the odometer and speedometer not work. So I took it out and I'm like, oh yeah, it works. I'm gonna have the ABS light on, but that's fine. And then I look down and it says 0 miles per hour as I'm pulling out of the parking lot. So while I love this bike, and honestly I bought it not really having the intentions to go scrambling with it, it does everything that I need it to do, from like the cafe racer, like street tracker vibes that I was going for. But if you're looking at this bike considering getting it to do scrambler activities, there's probably better options out there for you. Oh homeboy almost got cooked. Good lord. Anyway, I just got done rambling about all the things that I hate about this bike. So what is the reason that I'm selling it? Which of those reasons was finally the nail in the coffin? And I'll say that it was none of them, while at the same time being all of them. Now I'm going to need you to stick with me for this, because I'm going to give you the reason and you guys are going to be like, oh, well that has nothing to do with the bike. But in a roundabout way, it does. It can all be summed up by me just saying Honda Hornet CB750. You guys may know that I did the why can't I talk today? The press ride for that bike a couple months ago, and I fell in love with it. Now that bike is definitely a very different bike than this one is, but seeing how much more power that bike had, all the features that it had, how much fun it was, how much better it handled, just everything about that bike, and then realizing that it's only $1,200 more than this bike. Like, if I'm remembering off the top of my head, this bike brand new is $6,800 and the Hornet is $8,000. This bike seemed like a great value when I bought it. You know, this bike came in with a price point right between a Rebel 500 and the CB500X, so it seemed like it made sense. It was the best of both worlds. But with new bikes that have come out, it's made me realize that I don't think this is as great of a deal as I thought it was, or that I originally claimed it was. And that's for reasons because of bikes like the CB750, where you can get so much more bike for only $1,200 more. You know, the CB750 doesn't seem like the same kind of bike as this, but the things that I would be using it for are the same. I don't use this bike for scrambling, and I feel like it's truly not meant for scrambling. So when I rode the CB750, I went, oh, this can do everything that I use the scrambler for, but it can do all of it way better, and it has way more power and way more tech, and for only $1,200 difference. Thing sounds like a wet booty fart. I just don't see how anyone could justify not just spending that extra money to get it versus something like this or the CB500F or whatever. And in that same breath, I don't see how, if anybody is looking to get an actual scrambler, how they wouldn't just go for the Triumph. So, you know, I definitely do not regret buying this bike. It has been one of my favorite bikes to own of all time. And at the time that I bought it, there weren't really any competitors that made me think twice about getting them instead of this. But now that it's been out for a couple years, I feel like this fills a weird void between the cheap Triumph and the barely more expensive something like the CB750. I know that the SCL500 and the CB750 are not even technically in the same classification or the same league, but when you're looking for a bike that does a certain thing, and the Scrambler, the SCL500, falls right in the middle of two certain things, and there are two bikes that are arguably, or not even arguably, a better value to do one of those specific things much better, for me, it just doesn't make sense to keep it. Anytime that I was headed out to do the type of riding on this that I do on this, I would just take the CB750 because it would do it better and be able to go on the highway with no problem. Alright, now in retrospect, everything I just said, I feel like I was probably crapping on this bike a little bit more than I needed to. I'm not sure if it came across that way or not. Maybe it's just because I was talking about the bad stuff at the end. But I mean, really, I have loved this bike in the time that I've owned it. It's just, I think now there's something better out there for me. As the saying goes, it's not you, it's me. I think it's honestly Really good looking bike. It's a lot of fun. It's just the kind of fun that I want to have on it. I want more power and more tech and a quick shifter. Shout out to the Patreon members for making all of this possible and for allowing me to chase my crazy YouTuber dreams. I could not be doing this without you guys. Check out patreon.com/lifeofburch where you can pledge your monthly amount and support me in the biggest and best way possible and get a bunch of benefits along the way. I'll catch you all on the next one. Everybody leave a comment and say goodbye, SCL500. Love you guys. Peace.
Oh, so basic. Hope you play this. Damn, I prayed it. Nice song and I became this. Oh, souls faking. Pay those placements. And I'm still waiting on the brighter day. It's been a minute, been rough many times more. And I'm kicking rocks to a sky of gray. Praying hard, talk to me before I'm done for.